Cynthia MacGregor, how many books have you written, published? What do you do? Let everybody know what your significance is and why I'm always raving and ranting about you.
Well, I don't know why you're always raving and ranting about me, but I've had over 100 books published. I don't think that's a record, but I think it's notable.
All right, so name some of your work, some of the work you've been involved in.
Well, in terms of what your listeners are interested in, you can't learn to write just by reading. The Writer's Answer book, Teens, So You Want to Write Fiction. When I grow up, I want to be a writer. In other terms, not of writer books, Wisdom from a Happy Woman, books 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, but they're not out yet. The Divorce Help book for kids. That's actually my bestseller, not a bestseller, but my personal bestseller is the Divorce Help book for kids, which says something about our current status of how marriages go in the U.S. If the Divorce Help book for kids is my personal bestseller. And my favorite book of my own is Heartfelt the Special Reindeer, which is it's a picture book for kids, about a reindeer with special needs, but also special powers. And she can see what into the hearts of people and reindeer, and know what their most heartfelt wish is. But she's a special needs reindeer. Her back slopes. Her 2 rear legs are much shorter than her 2 front legs, so her back slopes, and she wobbles when she walks. But she's a strong flyer. She's one of Santa's backup reindeer, kind of like a spare tire, the way you keep a spare tire in case you get a flat. Santa keeps some backup reindeer in his stable, so that if one of the regulars isn't able to fly on Christmas Eve, he can call on one of his backups to fill in. And one Christmas Eve, Santa needs a 10th reindeer. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, Rudolph, that's 9. And he can't get the sled off the ground. There's too many heavy presents. And he calls on Heartfelt. And she finally gets her chance to fly with Santa's team like she always wanted to. And she gets a chance to use her special powers in a way that saves Christmas for Santa and a young boy named James. And that's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to, this is not a spoiler. This is not a spoiler. I've told you too much already. But it's a heartwarming story. We're making a movie out of it, an animated special. And first time I've ever done that. And I'm very excited about it. In fact, tomorrow, well, not tomorrow as you broadcast this, but tomorrow as we're taping this, we're getting together and recording a snippet, about a 10-minute snippet of the full thing, so that the animator can figure out the best way to get his animation to the character's voice, the voice actors' voices. And so we're on our way. We're working on it, and I am like so pumped I can't begin to tell you.
Who's doing the voicing? Is there
nobody famous? Nobody famous.
Not yet, right?
Local actors who are good, but not names.
See, that's something I've always got interested in. since the whole audiobook thing, the whole audiobook craze
Yes.
got really, really big lately. I've been kind of doing the whole talent search for the good audio book readers. And I hear a lot of people always have issues with they can't find good voice guys. They're everywhere. They're literally everywhere.
Yeah.
These guys. And it's, because you also do a lot of consulting and stuff with publishing. Me and you are always going back and forth, and that's one thing I always stress out to my listeners and people in my circle, that when I go rant off on publishing and rant off on books, it's with Cynthia MacGregor. Always, I always do it with you, because you know what I'm talking about. You've been in the industry for way longer than I have, and you're a lot smarter point of authority than I am. So, writers coming in today that choose self-publishing, what is the best route for them, in your opinion? Like, what's the best process to make the best sale out the gate?
Well, first of all, and full disclosure, I am involved part-time with a publishing company that has the self-publishing division is called Marlboro Media. That's not Marlboro like the cigarette. It's MARLBOROUGH, as in Marlboro, Connecticut, where it's based. And I work for them part-time, and they are, without a doubt, one of, if not the least expensive self-publishing outfits, and I really recommend them, not only because they are a good self-publisher, not only because they are an inexpensive self-publishing outfit, but because they are good, and because I will supervise the entire process. So if you sign up with Marlboro Media, you got me. And I think that's a good thing. So I feel that a writer who wants to self-publish should, if they don't just go with Marlboro, they should examine the contract and the terms and the costs of whatever publishing company they go with, whatever self-publisher they go with, because a lot of them tack on outrageous prices for just unreal, things that they sell that you don't need, things that they sell that they don't do, things that they sell that they overprice. Forget it, Charlie Brown. And that's why I'm happy to be associated with Acute by Design, which is the parent company of Marlboro Media. If your listeners are looking up Marlboro Media on the web, don't look under Marlboro Media. Look under Acute by Design, ACUTEBYDESIGN.com. How's that for a plug? And,
See, here's one thing that me and the production have been thinking about. We're always trying to look for these new little segments and segues, just to kind of keep things fun and light. So we started doing this thing called Dumbest Questions Seen on Social Media, and that's been like my new thing. And I got so involved. We haven't even aired it yet, so we got so involved in it that I actually have a folder of maybe 30 or 40 pages of just dumb questions I've seen and incorrect answers.
like what?
Huh?
Like what?
Oh, okay. So my favorite one is how much does it cost to be in the Library of Congress? That's all right. Explain why that's funny. Explain why to everyone that's funny.
Well, because the Library of Congress is not a library. The Library of Congress is the government's collection of works that you can copyright your book with, and copywriting costs something, but it's not being in the Library of, oh my God, that doesn't, I shouldn't laugh. Really, I'm sure whoever asked in all honest innocence, and I shouldn't laugh at them. I really shouldn't. But that
All right. So
really,
you want to hear the best response we had that
yes,
we had to mark down?
yes.
One guy's response was, "I'll do it for $1,000," and the guy who responded to that was, "That's a good price." See, and here's what I tell people: if you go look up the Library of Congress, there's an actual, it's free to register. It's a free registry. It's a free complete registration. Like we do it all the time. I help people out do it constantly. The PCSN's numbers and all that stuff. And here's the new one. This one I found this morning when I woke up, went in the bathroom, and I do what every man does when they're in the bathroom, not contemplating life. I'm playing on Google, right? Or YouTube.
Is that what men do in the bathroom? I had a different idea. I thought it involved a Playboy centerfold.
It depends on the rating of the show, I guess. Huh? Oh, where the hell was I going with this one? You killed me. You just cried. Like you throw me. You're the only person that can throw me off track. You're the only one in the world that can throw me off track.
Really?
Don't. I enjoy it, but it's yeah.
I enjoy taking a Playboy centerfold into the bathroom too.
And it's actually gonna be a good keyword now for the show too. So I can actually. I know that's searchable. 10-second snippet.
So anyhow, you were being different. You were taking Google into the bathroom, and
I take Google in the back room, and so one of the questions I found is what's the difference between an ASIN and a ISBN? And now usually I'm getting ready to gear up and go, okay, here we go.
Question. That's a ASIN is Amazon's key number for a book, and ISBN is Valker's key number for a book.
Mm-hmm. And the guy's response was, the ISBN is not necessary for any book, and the ASIN takes precedence over an ISBN any day of the week, in big letters. Thank you. And I actually get into it with a lot of people over this. I'm always telling them the ISBN, number one, is an ISO designated number that started off in like Ireland and the UK with the ISN and then internationalized. It's an actual ISO thing. It's the same people who do the labor laws, And I'm like, no, not right. Thumb down, big fucking thumb down. So explain, please, indeed, because you are so better explaining stuff than I am, and I just go crazy.
I thought I just did, actually. ISBN is assigned by Valker, which is the official agency for assigning ISBNs, which are book registration numbers, and ASIN is Amazon's book registration number. And if you have an ISBN, you don't need an ASIN. And if you're not on Amazon, you don't need an ASIN. And if you have an ASIN and you're on Amazon and you're not going into bookstores, then you don't need an ISBN.
That's good. I'm so glad you're so...
And if you have an ISBN, you should also get a barcode to put on your book so that when you go into the bookstores, when your book goes into the books, when you want your book to go into the bookstores can find all the information by scanning the ISBN, the barcode, and if there's no barcode, bookstores ain't gonna take it.
That's right, and the barcode's an EAN number or a UPC, and it's so funny. Oh, it's so funny the stuff I've been running into. We also looked into another big one. The ISBN is not a copyright. They're two different things,
right.
Two different animals.
Right.
That's one that we've been arguing with. Here's a funny one. What is the worst? And this is one. Haley, my editor in chief, she wanted me to ask you because you've been doing what she does for a lot longer than her, and she wanted to know, and she wrote down hers as well, so we'll disclose hers. What is the craziest editing that said, like, what's the because a lot of people when they write on their software, some of them do verbal and some of them just kind of go quick and autocorrects. What is the craziest verbiage you've seen in content of a book that you were like, that cannot mean what I think she means? Those are craziest edit.
I think maybe what she means is, what's the craziest spell check mistake that you've ever seen? I really don't remember offhand, but there have been some doozies. There have been some doozies.
All right, so I'll give you hers. I actually had to ask her permission if it's okay. So I'm not going to release the name of the author, but the author, she's a very on the go woman. So, and she's a very good businesswoman. So she's always constantly moving, constantly going. So she does everything by verbal dictation. And if your software doesn't pick up your verbal dictation, or you have a kind of like I do, I mutter a lot and I mumble. If you do that, it doesn't pick it up. So the one she had recently was. People were in awe. Here, I'm actually going to pull up the direct quote all right, here it is. People were in awe when they realized he was, Gurgin his Jurgen as on ongoing bypassers down the street. She just circled it and wrote WTF because she didn't even know what she was trying to say. And we haven't gotten a response yet. So and so she actually she sent me a couple clippets. He looked at her with spina bifida. I don't know how you do that one. I mean, I guess that's a good detail. If you're a descriptive writer, that would be a whole new way to look at somebody.
I don't know what they were trying to say, but I'm sure it wasn't spina bifida.
I didn't know this way. When she showed me it, I was like, "Is that?" I was like, "What word is that?" I couldn't even like break it down and pronounce it. I was like, I felt like my 3-year-old. I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "What does this spell?" She's like, "Spina bifida." I'm like, "Why? Why is it in a book?" I was like, "Is this a documentary or an article or?" She's like, "No, it's a fiction." I'm like, "Oh, about what?" She's like, "Romance." I'm like, "That's not a good. Don't put it in there." She's like, "It's not mine." But all right, so a lot of young writers are coming out. People are coming out into the industry and trying to make a name for themselves in writing. And me and you have talked about this just yesterday. And I stressed recently that finding a secondary avenue of revenue is always big for writers because it's not what it used to be. It's not like back in the day when you can get brought in, 20, 30 years ago, and then that would be your generate, revenue stream for however long your market sales do. But nowadays, since everything's so digital, we're digitally planes, it has to have a secondary revenue. You know what I mean? So what did you find to be the best source of extracurricular revenue to kind of steady aside you?
Well, for myself, what I find is that being able to say that I've had many books published, I use that as a credential, and I get ghostwriting gigs and editing gigs and other kinds of writing gigs. I write anything from business materials. I spoke to a fellow this afternoon who wants me to write sales material, sales letters, and other sales collateral, and all sorts of things. He wants me to edit books. He has some ghostwriting work for me. He wants me to write some copy for some brief emails that he's sending out, email blasts. I suppose that's spamming, but what the hell, I'm not going to, as long as my name isn't on it. Halo. I hate spam. Oh God, I hate spam. But anyhow, to get back to my point, I've drifted off, as I so often do. My point is that if you can get a side gig writing and or editing, and of course don't try to edit unless you really can. Don't say just because I've written 3 books I can edit. Garbage. That's not the word I had in mind, but bull crap. Can I say that on the air?
You could say horse shit, trash.
Okay, bullshit in that case. Okay. Don't put yourself out as an editor if you're not. But you can put yourself out as a writer, a copywriter, a ghost writer, business materials writer, many different kinds of writer. And if you have books, in fact, I have, what the heck is the title of it? I don't remember now. It's out of reach. It's within sight of me, but not where I can read the title. Something like Writers Write for Real Money Right Now. That's not the right title. I don't remember now. But the gist of it is that if you get a couple of books, 2 or 3 books out there, and you can point to them and say, I'm a multi-published author, then it's something like Writers Make Real Money Right Now or something like that. Go to my website, www.CynthiaMacGregor.com, and you'll find the book, and I hope some of your listeners will buy it. And it's just a short little book. It's not a big book. It's a barely more than a booklet, but it tells you what I'm telling right now, only in greater detail. And basically, that's my stream of income other than from writing. Because face it, royalties suck. Nobody's making, unless you're Stephen King or somebody, nobody's making big bucks on royalties anymore. It just isn't happening. I got a PayPal payment the other day for 3 plays. No, 2 plays. 2 copies of one play and 3 copies of and 1 copy of a second play. 3 copies altogether that were sold by a play publisher that carries some of my plays. The royalty payment was for $3.52. Is that pathetic or what?
That's big money, and that's. I'm so glad you actually brought that up, because the overall digital sale, that really is it's been highly declined because of the oversaturation of authors jumping into the space, and it's just. I mean, they did what 1.9 million or something like that, or close to that number last year alone in fourth quarter.
I don't know.
That's what I do. I'm a stats guy.
4:30. It's time for me to switch from water to scotch. Cheers, Al.
Cheers. See,
you may be
Cynthia,
posting this at 9 in the morning, and people may think, "Boy, what a lush she is." But I assure you, we're recording it at 4:30 in the afternoon. Well, we started at 4 in the afternoon.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 4:30 here, and that's good enough.
That's good enough for me. Oh, man. You drive me. So people don't know. A lot of people don't realize that you do my right now segment, which is actually one of my best raving segment. And somebody asked me, it was recent. I think it was not this last lessons, but I think the lesson or 2 before that, we had your right now feature on my lesson series. And somebody asked me, he's like, man, he's like, that really helped me out, really insightful. It's like, well, how do you write these things for her to script it, and why don't you script it yourself? And I was like, dude, there's no way that I can give you a quarter of what she can give you in this short little clip that she does in an hour of me ranting and cursing at my microphone.
I sent you 3 more right now this afternoon, and you said 5 or 6 you wanted this time, so I'm going to send you another 2 or 3. Al, those cigarettes are no good for you. I'm telling you, weed is the answer. It's illegal, but it's a lot healthier.
I'm telling you, that medicinal marijuana is making a come up, man. And I'm so behind. I keep reading studies on it because I haven't really smoked since I don't know. I quit years ago. I started getting really sick to it, and so a buddy of mine told me that a lot of my because I don't eat right and stuff, because I used to do, combat sports, and I had to cut a lot of weight, and so my dieting's really messed up. My stomach gets messed up. And so my buddy said, try doing edibles. He's like, man, and I looked into that study. It's really amazing what medicinal marijuana has done. It just scientifically, like, I don't know why, and the economic bump to it. You know, like it's saving states. I don't know why it's still illegal.
It's still illegal. Well, here in Florida, which is where I'm talking to you from, here in Florida, medicinal marijuana is legal, but recreational is not.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is one is for pleasure and one is for allegedly medicinal. Well, most medicinals can't get you high. They don't contain THC. They contain CBD, cannabidiol, I'm mispronouncing it, but CBD, which does not get you high. The active ingredient that gets you high is THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, and I probably mispronounced that one too. I can spell it, but I probably can't pronounce it. And
I tried an edible last year. A buddy of mine, he's from Cali, and he gave me one of those edibles, and it was just a little star shape. And I was like, oh man, I was like, do I eat the whole thing? He's like, no, if it's your first time, he goes, take half. I was like, oh, okay. You know, so I went ahead and I sectioned it and I tried it. Number one, is my best writing I had in a long time. I wrote about all kinds of crazy shit. It was good too. I mean, my standards, it was good. But, and also I was in a trance for maybe damn near catatonic for about 4 hours, but I thought so much. Like I could like remember my thoughts vividly, and I challenged everything. I started watching way more like political podcasts and shows and stuff. I'm like, what am I doing? And I finally snapped out of it, and I was like, I gotta wait to eat this other half. I was like, I don't think I can handle. I was like, I think it made me a whole new person. And actually, I found out speaking to a comedian buddy of mine, which we're gonna be, hopefully I have coming on soon. His schedule is nuts, but he said that he writes his best material like most comedians do while smoking weed. He's like, it forces you to kind of rethink things and look around. And, you know, I understand a lot of people don't like it and this and that, and I don't care what their standpoint is. And, you know what I'm saying? My personal view, I'm actually all for it. I think that every state should legalize it just for medicinal purposes. And the research they've done is quite kind of insane shit.
Well, I get some of my best ideas while I'm on weed, but I don't do the actual writing on weed. I'll make notes, longhand normally, because I'm not at the computer when I'm toking. But I toke in the evening and I work during the day. In the evening, I'm no good for working anyhow, weed or no weed. I'm up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning at the latest. Believe me, Al, by evening I am wiped. Weed or no weed, I am wiped. I can't do these 18-hour days anymore that I did when I was younger. I can't do 18-hour days anymore. So I'll quit around 5 usually, which means I put in like a 12 or 13 hour, a 12 or 13 hour day, which is enough. God knows it's enough. And at that point, I feel free to drink, to toke, to get great ideas and write them down, but not to sit there and work or edit. I will not edit when I'm stoned either. No way.
So you write, edit, you consult, you copyright, you have podcasts, your audio.
You're coming on my show on Tuesday, and it's
hell yeah, I am.
It's live. It's live. It's not taped like this is. This one, if I screw up, you can edit it out. But
why would I?
One will embarrass me, Al, huh? My show is recorded for people to listen at a better time. It's on at 2:00. You're on at 2:30, but the show goes on. The show starts at 2:00 Eastern, and a lot of people are working at 2:00 Eastern and can't watch the show, so they tune in later. It's recorded, and they can tune in later and watch it not watch it, listen to it at their leisure. But I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh crap! Totally lost my train of thought. Oh, frick. Well, anyhow, the show is live. I think that's where I was going at 2:00. So even though it's recorded and people can listen to it later on, it goes out live at 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. And if you screw up, you screw up.
See, I've been dying to do it too for like the longest time, and we keep saying that we're gonna get each other on, and I'm the worst with writing times down. And every time I write a time down, I always put it in like a Word document, never save it. And that's like today. We're supposed to record like 2 hours earlier, but I'm over there at my producer's house, upgrading my software. And then you're like, what the hell, dude? I'm like, ah, shit. Yeah, and that's, but live is the way to go, though. What's the name of your show? To let people know what the podcast, then we're on too.
Spotlight. In the Spotlight.
Where can they find it?
Well, it's... Crap, I knew you were going to ask me that. You can find it on Crimson Cloak Radio, and you can find it on Spreaker, but I don't know where to find it on Spreaker. But if you go to crimsoncloakpublishing.com, because see, it's not my show technically, it's their show. I mean, I produce it and I host it and I do the whole schmear, but technically I don't own the show. Technically Crimson Cloak Radio owns it, sponsors it. It's technically their show, even though it's my show. And I had another show until recently that was my show, but I gave it up. And so I'm now doing only one show a week instead of two. And so if you go to crimsoncloakpublishing.com and look for the radio, you can find it there. And that's one place that I haven't forgotten the URL of, and you can listen to it there. And it's called In the Spotlight, but I think it's just listed as Crimson Cloak Radio on the Crimson Cloak Publishing. And by the way, let me put in a plug for them too. They're a wonderful outfit. I enjoy having them as one of my publishers. They're lovely to deal with, but they're not taking any submissions currently. They are currently closed to submissions. They will reopen to submissions eventually, but at present, don't bother sending your manuscript there. They don't. They're currently as do many publishers. They close periodically when they get overwhelmed with submissions.
Yeah, when I used to run Gladiator, and when we were about 4 months in, we had, I think it's like 15, no, we had 15, 16 authors all together, and there's only, at the time, it was only a 4 or 5 man team, and we had to wait until our staff numbers, because we had to retrain, and, had to teach process, and then rules and laws, and it's a lot of stuff people gotta do, and so we had to shut down, acceptance queries and submissions, and I kept going out and acquisitioning new authors, and my partners are getting pissed off. They're like, what the hell are you doing, man? You shut down queries. I'm like, yeah, well, we can't take no more. He's like, you brought on 3 more. I'm like, yeah, but I'm an idiot. I was like, they like working.
I deal with this very situation in one of the right now segments that I sent you earlier today, which I assume you'll be airing in the near future. The fact that if you get declined, which is the industry polite term for rejected, it's not necessarily a reflection of your manuscript. It can be for a variety of other reasons having nothing to do with your subject matter or the quality of your writing. They may just be overwhelmed and not accepting new material, or they may have recently accepted a similar book on a similar topic and not want two competing titles out at the same time, and they decline your book not because it sucks, just because their schedule is full. I go into it in more detail in the segment that I sent you, but that's the gist of part of what I had to say.
So now, you go into a lot of good detail on things that I keep missing. I know in one of the right now is you bring up physical sale in bookstores and stuff like that, and that's one thing I always want to touch on, but even though in the publishing game and stuff like that, it shifted so much, and I didn't know a lot of the insides, and I learned what you taught in that particular feature not too long ago, even after me being 15 years in, about buying the end shelf space. And I didn't know they had like a 3-day span and
end caps. They're called. Yeah, you have to pay for them. You don't get them just because your book is shiny, bright, new, and wonderful looking, or because the content is fabulous. Your publisher must buy at quite a price the space on the end cap, or you don't get there. It's not a matter of what book looks like it's going to sell best, or what book has the best cover, or the best spine, or anything like that. It's strictly pay to play.
And that's a lot of the industry too now. It's a lot of it turned into you can get there if you pay, and it's never a long lasting. It always has a low shelf life, and it's gotten kind of crazy. And that's another thing that seems to be a high misconception. In your opinion, since you're very communal with other writers, and you're very engraved in the whole community, what would you think is the biggest, most common question and the most profound misconception that you would like to set straight?
Well, that's one of them right there. The end cap question is one of them right there. And then I think another is, why can't my publisher get me into the bookstores? Asked by someone whose book is with a boutique publisher. Many, if not most, of the boutique publishers don't get into the bookstores, and the reason for that is primarily the fact that there's a cost involved in printing a whole bunch of books and sending them out to bookstores only to have them come right back in a month if they haven't sold fabulously and flown off the shelves. And the fact is that you can have a wonderful book. I mean, there are many wonderful books out there, both fiction and nonfiction, that just, for one reason or another, having nothing to do with the quality of the writing or the topic of the book, or the quality of the print job, or who they're published with, but they just don't fly off the shelves. And writers who are with conventional, traditional publishers will see their books on the shelf and then off the bookshelf a month later, and they want to know why. The reason is the next batch of books has come in, and they need the shelf space. And if your book isn't selling phenomenally, off it comes to make room for the new batch of books. And a lot of the boutique publishers, if not most of them, simply aren't funded to print that many copies of the books and have them go out to the bookstores only to have them come back and pay the freight for them going out and back, and then stockpiling the books that weren't sold because a lot of the boutique publishers, again, many if not most, are working on a print-on-demand technology, which is a relatively, not brand new, but relatively new technology wherein the books are printed as they are asked for, as they are sold. And so each copy of a book costs a little more to print than with the old style where you order 1,000, but you don't have to warehouse them. You don't have to buy 1,000 copies and maybe the darn thing doesn't sell. And when I say you, I mean the publisher now. The publisher doesn't have to warehouse the books, buy 1,000 copies or more. And so the books are printed on demand, 1 at a time, 5 at a time, 10 at a time, maybe 100 at a time if the book is selling really well, but not 1,000 at a time. And so the publisher can't send 10 copies to every bookstore in America and barreling back if they don't sell. And so I get asked, why isn't my book on the shelf? There's your answer. If it was with a conventional, traditional publisher and it was sent out, if it wasn't a phenomenal seller, it was cleared off the shelves to make room for the next wave of books. And if you're with a boutique publisher, chances are it was never sent to the bookstores in the first place. It's available for sale on the publisher's website and maybe Amazon and maybe Goodreads or some other place like that, barnesandnoble.com, but not in the bookstores. And that's why. Period, end of sentence. Next question.
All right, so Cynthia. Ooh. I had a really crazy feedback. Ooh. Yeah, I had weird feedback. It's not your fault, it's mine, because it's my fault. All right, so. Oh, yeah, I got the kids running around. Now they're all trying to link onto my Wi-Fi. Damn. Succubuses.
How many kids do you have?
4.
Don't you know what condoms are for?
Well, that's that one thing you always pretend to carry.
4 kids. Okay.
Or
How
I just used the same one as I'm allergic. That's
how old are they?
12, 10, 7, 3.
So you got one rugrat in the bunch, okay.
She's the worst one at all. She's crazy. She knows what she's doing. Her age don't fool me.
and are your older kids, are they aiming for a literary career?
Yes and no. I mean, they're not, they're kids. One of them's he's really more outdoorsy. My oldest is 12, so he's more of an outdoorsy type. But my 10-year-old, she's probably going to find her way into the career. She writes a lot, so I'm always kind of pushing her way into it, and she loves it. She already had a poem published. She had a poem published through a book in a contest. She won a contest, and it went out. Yeah, it was really good, little short story, and it was really cool. But actually, this is all the time we have, Cynthia. No, why? So.
We're timed out? Okay.
We're timing out. Yeah, I already got my producer messaging me and going, "What the hell, man? You said a half hour." I said, "Yeah, well, that's too bad." What I tell you about time?
The open-ended, so I was ready to go.
Oh, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it again, though.
Okay, cool.
It's not the end of us.
I'm up.
So, Cynthia, everyone can find Cynthia at In the Spotlight on Crimson Radio. Was it Crimson Publishing Radio?
CrimsonCloakPublishing.com, and then look for Crimson Cloak Radio on the site. You can find me at www.CynthiaMacGregor.com. Remember, it's MacGregor, M-A-C, not McGregor, MacGregor, CynthiaMacGregor.com. You can find all my books there. Well, almost all. There's a few that are out of print that aren't on the site, but you can find almost all my over 100. I stopped counting at 100, but you can find almost all my over 100 books on my site. And I hope some of your listeners will buy some of my books.
And honestly, I've read her books, everybody. I endorse. It's very good, very talented. If she wasn't good and didn't know what she was doing, she would not be the first outside person featured on my show frequently. She's the only reoccurring personality on my show besides myself, and I'm actually already sick of me. So, and you could always hear the wise words of Cynthia MacGregor on my Lessons at Seasons on Monday. Every Monday I release a new lessons with a right now feature, which is Cynthia MacGregor, which she sent me 3 this morning. You know, before the 5 o'clock somewhere break and the Token Up Tuesday, whatever. Cynthia, it is always a pleasure. I always love having you on. I always love talking to you. And we are going to have to get together and do this again real soon. And I will see you Tuesday. And I want everyone else to know that you need to keep on writing it out. And Cynthia, what do you always say?
What do I always say? Pass a smile along.